Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's kick off today's video with the tale of a noise-obsessed creep who got his comeuppance when his fed-up neighbors turned his roof into a dawn chorus, complete with birds and crickets, so he'd finally know what it's like to be woken up at sunrise. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. He waged war with music, I fought back with birds and bugs. So here in my block, we have this neighbor who's just a combination of every bad neighbor habit. To make things more visual, we're mainly talking about half a block here. The majority of the houses are 2 stories, except the one in the middle that is a car detailing and accessory store. So this store's roof makes every other house on this half block visible to each other. So the major complaint is the noise. This guy blasts trash music all day long, which would not be a problem if this guy respected the volume and time allowed. Everyone in the block has called the police because of the noise after 12 a.m. at least once. When my family called the police at 3 a.m., the police told us that the sound had already exceeded the permitted decibels since before the street began. But I guess money's not a problem for this guy because he keeps doing it. Since everybody was calling the police on him because of the noise, he decided to call the police because of the noise of a newborn baby crying. When the policemen arrived, they told the guy to F off. So that was a mini win. Besides, this guy's also a creep, but keeps staring through every window. The majority of the neighbors had installed tinted windows or curtains because of this particular guy. I literally couldn't enjoy sunlight because this dude kept staring at my window whenever my underage sister was on the room. Obviously, there's more, but these were the major complaints. Cue the revenge. Since this dude is used to being awake during the night, blasting terrible music, he sleeps basically all morning and absolutely hates birds chirping because it wakes him up. You can literally hear him complaining and closing the windows when the birds start singing, so I decided to plan based on that. I asked every neighbor if they were okay with the birds chirping. The majority said they love it. Then I asked the detailing store if I could scatter some seeds on their roof to attract birds. The owner said absolutely yes, because the guy threw trash at the store's roof, so every single week the owner had to clean the gutters. So I started scattering the seeds every day at 5 a.m. Okay, the store's roof, and in less than 1 week, I have a full army of birds. I also started putting things like leaves, twigs, dog hair, and other things so the birds could build nests nearby. In my window, there's also water for the birdies. Now, the most delicious part of my revenge was when I decided the birds needed a little treat. I have a friend that breeds insects for people to feed their exotic pets, so I asked him for 100 crickets to feed the birds. He gave me an amazing discount, and the next day, I was also scattering crickets on the roof. The birds started eating the crickets, but obviously they couldn't eat them all, so the rest of the dozens of crickets that escaped ran to the nearest shelter, the idiot's open balcony. You may think, couldn't he just kill the birds or something? Well, he tried, but the odds are in our favor because the birds that come chirping on his windows are protected by ambiental law. So if he tries to harm them, he'll pay a much more expensive fine than this sound pollution would. Now my block is the only place in the ghetto where you can wake up every day like a Disney princess with more than 30 birds chirping and the sounds of a very distressed, evil neighbor. Every so often somebody comes along with a revenge so well thought out, so well executed, it's so damn petty. It makes me smile and laugh, and you've done that here. You are the kind of a-hole I aspire to be. And our second story. She wanted to exchange a 6-month-old gift without a receipt and lost her mind when I said no. I honestly can't stop laughing about this because I think it might be the first time a customer has actually told me to F off. I took my break early just to calm down and jot this down while it was fresh because, wow. Now I'm posting it at the end of my shift, fully processed and still cackling. For context, I'm a keyholder/manager at a retail craft store. You know the type. Sales and coupons change weekly, inventory turns faster than gossip in a high school cafeteria, and absolutely nothing is ever the same price 2 weeks in a row. Fun, right? Anyway, enter today's shining star, a woman who clearly woke up and chose violence. She walked right up to me, no greeting or preamble, and held up a small box. Inside were 2 candles from our fall collection, which, just to clarify, ended several months ago and has since been discontinued. She said she received them for Christmas and wanted to exchange them. Okay, that's already outside the 90-day return policy, but I smiled and said, "All right, do you happen to have a receipt?" She looked at me like I'd asked her to hand over her firstborn. No, it was a gift. Who gives gift receipts? That's tacky. Okay, here we go. I politely replied, well, some people do include gift receipts just in case, but without one, I can only offer store credit for the lowest sale price in the last 90 days. And just a heads up, these candles are discontinued, so they might not be in the system anymore. She bristled, "They're not discontinued. They're the same price as the other candles on the shelf." I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. "Lady, I work here. I do this every day. I know what our inventory looks like." "They're actually discontinued," I said, still trying to stay calm. "We haven't sold these since the fall collection ended, and they've already cycled out of the system." Then she hit me with that classic line, "I assume you're the manager?" "I'm one of them, yes," I said. "Would you like me to grab the other manager on duty?" "No, I want you to exchange these. It's the same price." She just kept repeating that, like if she said it enough I'd magically agree. I let her know again, calmly, that it's company policy and I couldn't override it. And that's when the unhinged energy really kicked in. "What if I just stand here all day and tell every customer who walks in that you won't let me exchange these?" she snapped. I gave her a weirded out look. Okay, if that's what you want to do." "No, that's how you'll look." "Ma'am, are we in a middle school drama class right now?" I just stared at her, genuinely at a loss for words. She hissed, "Are you just going to stare me down now?" "Ma'am, I don't know what else you want me to say." "Would you like the number to our corporate customer service line?" She was practically vibrating with rage at this point. "I don't want the number. I want you to exchange them right now." She shoved the candles back in the box, muttered something under her breath, and started to storm off. And then, as if she realized she hadn't made a big enough scene yet, she spun on her heel and shouted across the store, "F you!" I smiled, as sweet as syrup in July, and chirped, "All right, thank you, have a wonderful day." She slammed open the door, but couldn't resist one more parting shot. She doubled back, glared daggers at me, and spat, "I hope you have a terrible day." And then she left for real. I blinked. I had that weird post-argument adrenaline rush where you're simultaneously shaking and trying not to laugh because the whole thing was just so absurd. The woman went from 0 to 100 because I wouldn't let her bend store policy for 2 dusty candles from a discontinued line. Here's the kicker. If she had stayed and started harassing customers like she threatened, I would have had every right to call security or even the police. I gave her every out. I offered store credit. I offered the corporate number. I even kept my tone nice. But no, she had to go full scorched earth over a $12 seasonal candle. The best part, after she left, I had a surprisingly great rest of my shift. The staff and I had a good laugh about it. I even told one of our regulars the story, and they were howling. Honestly, it's wild how often this happens. Lately, customers have been getting more and more aggressive, especially over returns. I don't know what it is. Maybe everyone's just a little more fried than usual. But still, it's retail. We're not the enemy. We're just trying to enforce policies that corporate wrote. Anyway, if she ever comes back, I've got her face burned into my memory, and I'm well within my rights to refuse service next time. But part of me hopes she doesn't. Some people just bring a little too much chaos with them. And not the fun kind. But hey, thanks for the laugh, lady. Hope that candle smells like regret. This isn't just a kooky customer story. It's a microcosm of how people treat service workers as emotional punching bags. She didn't yell because of the candles. She yelled because she couldn't control you. When you didn't cave, she short-circuited, and that's why the story resonates. It's a tiny victory for every worker who's ever bitten their tongue. And our last story. Give me your farm. Not today, honey. For the past 15 years, my Aunt Lorna and her husband Greg have been living like squatters with a welcome mat on my Grandma June's 140-acre rural property. They haven't paid a dime in rent, not for the little house they occupy, not for the utilities, not even for the massive barn/workshop Greg's turned into his own personal landfill of broken down cars and rusted out projects. Greg's one of those guys who swears he's just about to start fixing that one up. He's got half an auto graveyard rotting under tarps, each one totally a classic. Aunt Lorna mostly floats around chain smoking and acting like the lady of the estate. Anyway, earlier this week, they dropped a bombshell on Grandma June. They want to buy the property, all 140 acres, for $89,000. To put this into perspective, similar parcels in the area have been going for triple that, even in a buyer's market. Their justification? According to them, Grandma owes them $40,000 for all their hard work on the property over the years. That hard work includes things like chopping firewood, which they burn themselves, spreading gravel, but only on the path to their place, not the main driveway, and a couple of other glorified chores that wouldn't get them a free sandwich at Subway. The next day, Greg turns up again, this time with a revised invoice. Yep, a printed out bill with a grand total just shy of $50K for services rendered. Apparently, breathing air on the land now counts as manual labor. Grandma, bless her, is too kind-hearted to throw them out. She just sort of nodded and said she'd think about it, which in Grandma speak means absolutely not, but I hate confrontation. Enter my mom, her other daughter, who isn't about to let Greg and Lorna swindle her mother out of her generational land. She offered to buy the property at its proper appraised value, fair and square. Grandma agreed, and the paperwork's already in motion. When Greg and Lorna were informed, they did what entitled freeloaders always do. They threw a fit, claimed they'd been misled, and invested their lives into that land. My mom politely reminded them that they can continue living there for now, but as for their made-up invoice, they can go pound sand. And if they don't like it, well, Craigslist has plenty of listings for people who think gravel spreading and hoarding junk cars is a six-figure profession. This isn't just about land or money. It's about how entitled people weaponize family to exploit kindness. Grandma June's aversion to confrontation let this fester for years, but your mom's refusal to play along exposed the truth. Freeloaders don't negotiate. They collapse when challenged. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.